Hi, and welcome to Painting with Karen. Today we're doing a little painting just in honor of my son who's going out to Olympia, Washington. And so we're going to do some Pacific Coast painting. I used to live in the Pacific Coast, so it's kind of something that I'm familiar with. Today I'm wearing my smock because I have a nice dress under it that I wore to church today. It's Sunday. We usually paint on Saturday. So let's get started. The colors have been run already. I have them here on my palette, and I'm just going to, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to, with my finger, put in a moon. So I have some titanium white, and we're just going to put just a little moon there. It's a little thick, but that's okay. There's my moon. And what I do need is a cloth. Sorry about that. I thought I was all prepared, and I use old t-shirts, and I like to clean my brushes by rubbing them on cloth, and then after I film, then I wash them all with paint thinner. All right, so there's Prussian blue already here. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint with titanium white, and we're just going to reveal the blue, and we're going to reveal some clouds. So I'm just putting the essence of clouds right here, and then we're going to put some clouds here. We want to really make sure that we put a lot of white over here because we're going to paint some black trees, and we really want the contrast of the trees. And if you've ever been out on the night like this, there's all sorts of white luminescence happening because of the moon, and there'll be a lot of what you want is you want the tips of your clouds to be the whitest spot. So we're going to blend that in just a second. I'm just laying white in, just basically just putting paint on the canvas. Then I take my 2-inch and we're going to just blend that out. We're going to fluff these clouds up. And it is just a nice way to do a painting because it's almost magical. If you ever do this when you're doing a live painting event, which I do quite a bit of, it's kind of magical because people don't know that you have this stuff on, that you have paint on your canvas, and ta-da, it comes out and they're like, ooh, a magical event. And I don't know if any of you have been to the Pacific Coast, but it is a very dramatic kind of coast because there's a lot of rocks. Here in North Carolina, the coast has a lot of waves and it's fairly flat ground. But in the Pacific Coast, Oregon, Washington State, Canada, British Columbia, Canada, there's always there's a lot of rocks and trees involved with the ocean. All right, so we got some clouds laid out. We're going to just put some more, and what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight some of this white stuff here. And I'm just tapping these highlights, and we're going to blend those again. But you want your highlights to be, like I said, where you think that that moon is going to hit your sky. And it just catches the tips of these clouds. I'll put some more in here. And usually at the bottom it's a fairly concrete kind of cloud that is there right before the water gets here. Sometimes at nighttime you can't tell where the clouds start and where the water begins because they kind of blend into each other. So That's kind of what I'm trying to do with this. See right there, you got clouds, and now you have a little bit of water. It's always fun to just add this, but don't spend like all your time with these because you're going to have some trees that cover it up. But you always want it to you're trying to take the flatness away from your canvas. So you're always trying to give your canvas other dimensions. So I like to pull this. And also, what's kind of interesting is that you can make, you're kind of giving a little bit of the illusion of the ocean in your sky. Because clouds are waves and waves are clouds. And that's how we roll. This is the way that it is. So a little bit of a dramatic little sky here. But whenever the moon is out, I always think that there's drama involved. So I'm going to make sure that there's a little bit of, but this is lighter. But this is light because you really want to have a contrast with the trees that you're going to put down here. All right. So now really light. I'm just blending a little bit here. There we go. I'm just going to leave it there because I could mess with it forever. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my ocean and then I'm going to put in some rocks. So with the ocean, I'm going to use a fan brush first and I'm going to do the white. So I'm just loading my fan brush with the white and we're going to just put some ocean in. Now, here's your moon. Your moon is always going to be right under your moon is going to be lit the most. So there's some there. And then I'm going to just pull a little bit there. Let's see how that ocean just magically appears. Who would have thought of that? I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I'm going to cover that with rocks. But the stroke that you're doing with this brush is an ocean stroke. So it's up, up and down. See that? That's a little bit like the ocean is. It wouldn't be so choppy back there, but it gives you a little bit of an illusion of waves or something's happening back there. And you're just adding the white to it. So you're just making that ocean kind of appear a little bit. And we're going to make it, and see now here's hitting the little phthalo green. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut some of that moonlight into your ocean. To cut, you always pull. And there's a little bit of blue in my white, but that's okay because, and then you cut, and you get like a little line, and you're going to do that process a few times. So there's white, and I'm going to do that one really close by. And I'm going to do it again. And as I work, these are getting bigger and further apart. So you're going to just get bigger and further apart. So further apart. So I'm going to put this one here. And it's going to be a bigger line. Because the moon is hitting the tops of the waves. There's a lot of fluorescence that happens with the ocean that just because of the white, and I really don't know. It's kind of magical, isn't it? But there we go. We'll add some more as we work it, but it's really just moon shining on water. Now we're going to put a little bit more water. we're setting all this up so that we can put some rocks on the side and maybe some trees. Okay? So I got my fan brush. We're going to use 3 fan brushes on this because we want we always want a clean fan brush. So I'm going to just adding ocean. Now what we're going to do is, because it's coming a little bit closer to here, we're just going to just make it look a little bit more like waves. This is coming closer to the shore. All right? Not touching that anymore. You've laid your ocean down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put some rocks and some trees. I have this knife and I'm going to wipe it off. And of course we're going to build our rocks. So we're going to put a little bit of Van Dyke rock, a little bit of black, a little bit of shark sienna, or alizarin crimson, whichever one it is. Not alizarin crimson, I'm sorry. It's dark sienna or burnt umber. Okay, it's the same color. And then I'm going to take some white, put it on top. So we're making a cake. And I'm going to do a little bit white. More white. This was going to be a very dark concoction. So now we have it ready there. Okay? Now, what we have to do is with the filbert, clean it a little bit. We're going to lay down, I always like to kind of lay down where I'm going to build a rock. So I'm going to take my midnight black, and I think that we're going to have a rock that's here, a little like a ledge, and it's going to come here. And there's going to be some trees growing out of it there, and then we're going to do this right here, another little ledge, and maybe there'll be more rocks here. And you can't really see that, but you're just like when you make trees, you're putting black down. Just like when you do mountains, it's the same thing. If I could make painting fair, it would be, we wouldn't have to underpaint everything, but it's just the way that it is. So there we go. So there's the base for our rock. Now we have our little thing already, our little mix already done. I'm going to, all right, so we're going to do the top part, which is where the moon is hitting. I'm going to pull it. There's some more. And then we're going to do the other part, another rock. We're going to do another one here, right? So this one can be behind or on top. I'm going to kind of make it a little bit behind. So this is going to go on top. That's too white because the moon is hitting things here. This would be dark. So we're going to darken that in a minute. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of white. And because the moon is here, it's going to be white, right? So, and we're kind of making a little bit of a lip, a little bit of a ledge on that rock. And then I'm going to do this one here. I'm just going to put like a little white tip there. I'm not going to make a ledge. And we're going to try to cover that up. And I'm going to just take some midnight black. And I'm just going to run it here because this should be way dark because the moon shouldn't be hitting that. So we're darkening that. And then we're going to darken this too. Kind of. I'm going to start here. And then as I go here, I want to darken it more. So I'm just making it a little bit flatter. Actually makes your rock a little bit, gives it a little bit more texture. anyway, so it's good. There it is. Now, this is optional, but in the Bob Ross painting that I kind of modeled this after, he does trees. So I'm going to lay some trees. I'm going to lay kind of the shadow of trees and highlight them a little bit. I have my fan brush, the one that's clean, that's not black, but you know, I'm going to save this one. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to make it dirty because I need my fan brushes to be like for white. All right. Load your fan brush for a tree. Always, always load it like a lot. See how much paint there is on that? There's a lot of paint. Always has to be a lot. And you're going to just do tips of the trees right there. Do some here, here, and then I'm going to put in a tree right here. So it's just like the essence, and I'm loading my brush again. These ones have to be really loaded, if not, the tree's not going to come out. There's your tree, and there's a little button on the background. There we go. Let's do another one. Tree, you put down that. Then you're going to go. The tree, you're going to just tip, 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 tip. See how it's coming out? And the faster you do it, the better your tree turns out. So it looks like these trees are on top of the mountain. It's been blowing a lot because these trees have grown a little bit sideways, but that's nature, right? And so let's highlight those trees a little bit. And I'm going to just clean my brush out. And I'm going to just put a little bit of white on it. Just a little bit of white. Just a little bit of white. And we're going to just highlight them just a little bit because that moon would be hitting them. So I'm just adding a little bit of highlight. And I'm not putting trunks in those trees. I'm not really making a lot of details because it's dark out. You wouldn't see any details in the trees. You would just see the shadow of the trees and maybe a little highlight from the moon. So those are the trees. And I could put trees here, and I'm going to give the essence of something there, but I don't want anything. So I'm just going to put just some little lines. Bit of vegetation there. A line. And this is all so you can play with these, you can do whatever, but I like just the dark trees because the moon is just going to hit them and there's a little bit of light coming from there. Okay. Most important part of your painting is going to be this wave. And this wave, it's a little tricky, but not anything that we can't do. So there's your wave, and you really have to trust the process on this wave. You really have to trust it. If you don't trust it, then whatever. It's simple, but it's kind of hard. So I've got white. I have white, just white on my brush. So there's a semblance of a wave here. And if there's a wave here, it's going to crash right here. So I've got some white. So there's a little bit of crashing here happening because there's a rock here. Don't forget. So I'm going to crash that a little bit. And if there's a wave, then it might just be like at the bottom here. A little bit of, just a little bit here. All right. I'm going to do another wave down here. And this wave is going to be kind of coming from that one. And it's more of a clamshell. Think about it. All the way here. And that's kind of like the low, like the last wave that happens and it just kind of opens up. That's what it's going to be right there. So we've got that wave there. Looks like a little clamshell. Maybe it's going to go down here a little bit more. And it's not a very deep wave. It's not a very big wave. It's not a dramatic wave. It's just this wave that comes here. Now, this is where you really have to trust the process. So you have this wave here. And I've got another clean brush. And with this clean brush, I'm going to do two things. I have yellow, and then I have titanium white. And I'm going to mix. And this is kind of finicky, I'm sorry. But I'm going to mix a little bit of liquid white with my titanium white so that it makes it a little bit flow a little bit. It thins it out. It makes it flow a little bit better. I'm going to put it over here on this part of my palette so that I can kind of manage it a little bit better. Now, my liquid white is in this little yellow container because liquid white gets on everything. I'm going to so I have liquid white, see it's dripping. I'm going to mix it with my titanium white. This just makes it run better. It just gives it, you know how these paints are thick, they're like toothpaste. And so this is just thinning that out so that it makes it flow a little bit better when we lay down our stuff. Okay. Now, here is where you have to really trust it. I got some cadmium yellow. That's pretty bright, right? I'm doing a little wave crash here. Putting it right there. Right there. Looks pretty horrible, right? What have I done? You got to trust the process. So that's there. And we're going to leave that there right now because we're going to just add that little rock there that we need to. And I still have some of my mix. And I always want to put that wave first before. And I'm just going to put a rock here. And you don't have to put that rock in, but it really kind of adds. Now this rock will have a lot of white stuff on it. I'll have white stuff kind of dripping off it because it'll have that foam from the water. All right. And it's going to disappear into the sand, so I've kind of left it like that. And now I've got this yellow, and it's a little daunting, and you're going to hate it, but here it is. I have this stuff mixed here, and I have a little bit of blue. So I'm going to put, so I've got a little bit of blue right here. I'm going to take some of this white, not a lot, just with my brush, and mix that up. So I have a little blue, like a light blue. A little more. Now you can do this with your fan brush. You can do it with your filbert brush, whichever one you want. I'm going to clean it. So I want it to be more white than anything. Now let's hope that this works out. So just Now it picks up that yellow, so you want to wipe it a little bit. And this is just a very gentle kind of way. It's not a big crashing dramatic wave. It's just wave. So what it's doing is that yellow is giving it a little bit of a glow. Because remember I was talking about the luminescence at the beach? See, it makes it almost like it's lit from below. I'm cleaning it. I'm cleaning in between every stroke. I'm cleaning it. So there's a little bit of yellow. Don't worry about it. So now with the same brush, I'm going to pull. I'm going to get a little bit more white. Remember, there's the Van Dyke brown is under there, right? So this. All right. I'm going to pull this, and it's going to seem really weird. This would be like the reflection. That looks really strange, right? So remember your blender brush here? It has a little bit of blue in it, which is okay. But what you're going to do is you're just going to just pull your water. I think that gives it a nice contrast. Now, what we have to do with the rest of the painting is just add the highlights. The water wouldn't just end there. We need to put a little bit of foam there. So I'm going to take this brush again. We're going to foam it up. Just going to just a little bit of there. And then here under this, you can just run it. I'm going to cut it just because I like the way that cuts under rocks. And then I'm going to add a little bit more of these here. Just to kind of give it a more finished look to the painting. What you can also do is you can also, you know how there's like those little foam things that happen here? And I kind of like the way that they look. I'm going to just add that to the bottom so it's like your water has receded from there. I'm going to take my filbert and clean it, of course. And with the filbert, what the filbert does really well is it shapes. Like I use it for sand, I use it for water, I use it for snow because it shapes your waves. So there's a little bit too much of a distinction there. So I'm going to just soften this up here. See how it's like it gives it that. Gives it that I don't know. It just gives it that softness, but it helps. It gives, you know what it does? It gives your painting, the filbert gives your painting continuity. So it always has, it gives it like, um, like the shape of sand. It just gives it that continuity, that flow, the silkiness to it. I'm going to do a little bit here just because, and I'm going to put a little bit more white here. I'm just going to put a little bit more white because it would just reflect a little bit more with the moon. So I really wanted to show this wave that kind of, it's not a crashing wave, it's just kind of a gentle wave that comes along. But I wanted to show that the yellow being, it shows being lit under. It kind of gives it that luminescence. I'm checking for time. Good. All right, so I'm going to call this one done. And I hope that you join me next Saturday at Winter Park Baptist Church. It'll be Saturday the 29th, I think. I'm going to talk to my. So it'll be the fourth Saturday of this month, which is March, at Winter Park Baptist Church. It's the class is from 9 to 12. And if you want to join us, the phone number is 910-262-9728. And you can just text me or you can call me and we can talk. But thank you so much for spending the last half hour with me. I hope that you give this a try, whether in class or by yourself in your house. I think it's a beautiful painting and there's a lot of things that you can do with it. Thank you.